Welcome back. I'm here today with a trio of electric pickup trucks. Over here we have my 2022 Rivian R1T. Behind me, my 2022 Ford F-150 Lightning Lariat. And over here, General Motors was kind enough to loan me a Hummer EV for a week so I could do some range testing and some charging recordings. Now this is the third time that I've actually had some seat time with the Hummer EV, and I've combined to drive the three different vehicles. I've driven over 2,000 miles. Now I've driven both of my trucks well over 2,000 miles. So I've got a lot of experience with these three really cool, really powerful, all electric pickup trucks. What I'm gonna do here today is a quick comparison, comparing the features of these three vehicles, declaring winners in each category, and then we'll talk about my overall impressions for all three trucks at the end. But first, please don't forget, click that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you don't miss any upcoming content here on State of Charge. This video is powered by Qmerit, North America's leading provider of installation services for electric vehicle charging, home energy storage, and other electrification technologies. See how Qmerit is making the energy transition easy for home and business owners by following the link in the description of this video. Okay, so first up, let's talk price. Let's take a look at what these three electric pickup trucks cost and which one I think is the best deal. I paid $80,981 for a pretty much loaded Rivian R1T with the Adventure package. However, a similarly optioned R1T now would cost over $90,000. That's because Rivian instituted a hefty price increase earlier this year that raised the prices between 17% and 20% across the board. However, they did announce that they'll be offering a dual motor powertrain instead of the quad motor powertrain that I have, and a smaller battery version in 2024, and that will have a starting price of $67,500. But you're going to have to wait more than a year to get one of those, and it is going to have less range and less power. Now, the Lightning has the most options of all three trucks. The base Pro version with standard range battery pack was originally offered at $40,000, and that was a ridiculously good deal. However, that didn't last long as Ford raised the prices across the Lightning line soon after launching the vehicle, just as Rivian did. Now the least expensive Lightning Pro starts at $51,974, and the most expensive trim, the Platinum, costs $98,874. Now I paid $80,384 for my extended range Lariat, and that same build would now cost me $87,174, almost $7,000 more, but the price increase was much less than what Rivian instituted. Now the Hummer EV also had a price increase since its launch, and that's in the amount of $6,250. But all of the Edition 1 Hummers are spoken for. So anyone that originally ordered one will pay the initial price of $110,295. GM said that a less expensive version of the Hummer is going to follow within the next couple of years. But for now, the only version being offered is Edition 1, and it costs over $110,000. Now, none of these trucks are inexpensive, but my Lightning is the least expensive if you were to order one today, which you can, of course, because Ford isn't accepting any more reservations until they can clear out some of the backlog of orders they have. And that, plus the fact that Ford came out of the box offering 4 different trim levels, as well as 2 different battery sizes, with the least expensive Lightning now starting at about $52,000, I'm going to have to give Ford the win in the pricing category. Okay, next up, let's talk about the ride and interior comfort. I'm going to come right out and declare a winner here. In my opinion, it's the F-150 Lightning. It has the smoothest ride, the quietest cabin, and the most room in the back seat for passengers. So To me, it's not even close. The Lightning just glides over the road. It kind of reminds me, and I know I've said this before, of like a 70s Cadillac that just kind of floats over the bumps. Now that does come at a cost. It doesn't handle as well as the other two trucks do, but the ride comfort, the interior quietness, the minimization of sound and vibration, I think the Lightning is actually heads above both of these vehicles. It's not even close. Next up, we'll talk about the off-road capability. Now, whereas the Lightning's on-road manners are fantastic, it really can't hang with these other two trucks when it comes to off-roading. And quite honestly, I was teetering on calling it a tie. Both of these vehicles, the Rivian R1T and the Hummer EV, are ridiculously capable at off-roading, and I've had the chance to drive both of them off-road. Now I'm going to give the edge to the R1T, and the deciding factor is its ability to ford deep water. Even in extract mode, the Hummer EV is limited to 32 inches of water. That's deep water. But the Rivian can go in over 3 feet of water, and we've already seen videos of people like launching their boats in really deep water where the water is like halfway up the front of the vehicle. So I'm going to make that the deciding factor. And also, because the Rivian is narrower than the Hummer EV, I think it'd be better on most trails. Now, take the water out of the equation, take the trails out of the equation. If I was, say, off-roading in a desert type of an area, I'd probably select the Hummer EV. But I think more people are going to be taking their vehicles off-road where there's trails, where the width of the Hummer EV is going to be a problem, and also going through water where the R1T has that slight advantage. So I'm going to pick the Rivian R1T to be our off-roading king. Okay, next let's talk about power and performance, and we'll start off with the Lightning. The Lightning with extended range battery pack has 580 horsepower and 775 pound-feet of torque. It's the most powerful pickup truck Ford's ever made, and it is crazy fast. It goes 0 to 60 in about 4 seconds. So this thing rips. But it's the slowest vehicle out of these three vehicles. That's crazy when I think about it. Now let's talk about the Rivian R1T. It has 835 horsepower and it has 908 pound-feet of torque. It has a quad motor system. It has 4 motors. The Lightning has 2 motors. 1 motor up front to power the 2 front wheels, 1 motor in the rear that powers the rear 2. But the Rivian has 4 motors, 1 motor for each wheel. Now, they're not in-wheel hub motors. They're just motors that are connected to each of the 4 wheels. It's ridiculously fast. It goes 0 to 60 in 3 seconds flat, maybe even a little bit quicker than 3 seconds flat. And it is just nuts. The power, when you step on it, that instant torque that throws you back in the seat, it's way more powerful than a pickup truck ever needs to be honest with you. But, you know, who am I to say that, I guess? That's just my opinion. Now, let's go over to the Hummer. The Hummer has a tri-motor system. So we've got 2 motors, 3 motors, and 4 motors here, which is pretty cool. Has a tri-motor system, 2 motors in the rear, 1 motor up front. It has 1,000 horsepower and 1,200 pound-feet of torque. It is crazy. It goes 0 to 60 in a little bit more than 3 seconds. And as far as the quarter mile goes, Rivian will beat all 3 of these trucks. My friends over at Throttle House actually ran the Hummer versus the Rivian in a quarter-mile race, and the Rivian won, not unsurprising, really because of the weight as much as anything. Now, all 3 of these trucks are heavy. The Lightning weighs about 6,600 pounds. The Rivian R1T weighs a little more than 7,100 pounds, but the Hummer EV weighs over 9,000 pounds. So yeah, it's got 1,000 horsepower, but it's pulling 9,000 pounds. It's amazing that it still goes 0 to 60 in about 3 seconds. And in watts to freedom mode, it has a ridiculous launch where you just get thrown back into your seat. I've done it many times this week. I did it with a few friends, and each time I actually should have been recording their reactions because it was crazy. But in any event, power and performance is going to go to the Rivian, and it actually does handle better than these 3 vehicles also. The Rivian's the best. The Hummer, when you put it in the lowest mode, probably is the second best handling vehicle because it has rear steering. And the rear steering really helps in cornering, and it really helps in just making turns. In this area of my driveway, I can almost drive the Hummer without having to back up. Whereas the Rivian and the Lightning, I've got to make like 3-point K-turns to turn around. The Hummer, I just have to back up once and it almost makes it. So that rear steering makes a huge difference, and it makes a huge difference for handling on the road. The Ford is last, and we're going back to the fact that the ride is so smooth and so soft, but it lumbers around turns. When you take it hard, you can feel that weight, you can feel the suspension sway. It's not something that you really want to take out on a track. You just want to drive the Lightning across country instead of really getting on it like a sports car. But straight line, it hauls, but the handling's not all that great. The Rivian R1T is the champ as far as performance and handling goes. Next up, we'll talk about the bed and the tailgate. The Lightning has the biggest bed, even though it's not that big. It's 66 inches long, so 5 feet 6 inches. The Hummer's bed is 60 inches. It's exactly 5 feet. The Rivian R1T is only 54 inches. That's 4 feet 6 inches long. So while none of these electric vehicles have a long bed, the Lightning's is longest. Now we'll talk about the tailgate. The really cool thing about the Lightning is it has a power tailgate that goes down, and it also powers it back up. The Rivian and the Hummer will lower automatically, but they won't lift up. And another thing, both the Lightning and the Hummer have steps built into the tailgate to help you get in and out. And the Lightning actually has a grab bar to even help you further. So as far as the competition goes for the tailgate and bed, the Lightning's the winner. Next up, let's talk about the audio systems. And quite honestly, this one isn't even close. The Rivian R1T has an 18-speaker Meridian sound system that, quite honestly, might be the best sound system I have ever heard in any vehicle that I've ever tested or owned. Now, the sound systems in the Lightning and the Hummer EV are very good, but the Rivian system is so good that it doesn't even come close. And an added feature is the Rivian comes with a Bluetooth speaker that's removable that you could set up anywhere outside at a campsite or wherever you are. Now, I do have to add that the Hummer EV does have an integrated kicker sound system, 2 speakers that fold out of the tailgate. So it does have external speakers also, but you are limited to having them right there. With the Rivian, you could take that Bluetooth speaker anywhere you want and you've got sound. It's really cool. This category isn't close. The Rivian sound system rocks. Okay, so these are pickup trucks, and pickup trucks need to be utilitarian. Let's talk about the power that they can offload. The R1T has 4 120-volt power outlets, 1 in the rear passenger seating area, 1 in the gear tunnel, and 2 in the bed. The Hummer EV has 2 power outlets, 1 in the cab and 1 in the bed. The Lightning has 11 power outlets. 10 of them are 120 volt, 1 of them is 240 volt, and it can offload up to 9.6 kilowatt. You can power an entire job site with this. It's called Ford's Pro Power Onboard system, and it comes standard on the Lightning. And the Lightning also has Ford's intelligent backup power system. Now you pair it with the Ford Charge Station Pro that comes with the extended range battery Lightnings. If you get a standard range battery Lightning, you can purchase Ford Charge Station Pro for $1,310. So what happens is you buy Ford's intelligent backup power system, have it installed in your house, and you can use the truck to power your house up to 9.6 kilowatts of power during a power outage. Fantastic feature. Neither one of these other 2 vehicles can do that. In this category, there's a clear-cut winner here. The Lightning kicks butt when it comes to offloading power. Okay, next up, let's talk about something that's very important for electric vehicles, and that's driving range. The Rivian R1T has an EPA-rated range of 314 miles. That's with the road tires. I have the off-road all-terrain tires on mine. That's not officially EPA range rated, but Rivian said you can expect about a 40-mile deduction if you have these off-road tires, which should put me somewhere around 270, 275 miles of driving range. I've done multiple 70-mile-an-hour highway range tests with my Rivian already, with these tires on it, the all-terrain tires. I'm averaging somewhere between 250 and 270 miles, depending on the temperature and wind conditions. So right around 260 miles is what I feel comfortable that the R1T can do at a constant 70 miles an hour. I've also done these range tests with the Lightning, and I'm averaging somewhere around 270 miles, 270, 275 miles, a little bit more than the R1T. Now, the Lightning with extended range battery pack Lariat that I have is EPA range rated at 320 miles, so 6 more miles than what the Rivian has, and in my experience, it outperforms the Rivian on highway range tests, even though it's not a totally fair comparison because the Rivian has the off-road tires and my Lightning has all-season tires. But for me, right now, I know I can count on 10 to 15 more miles with the Lightning than I can with the Rivian. Now, the Hummer EV, I did one 70-mile-an-hour highway range test with it a couple weeks ago for inside EVs. The Hummer EV's EPA range rated at 329 miles, 9 more miles than the Lightning is. However, I was able to drive at 343 miles at a constant 70 miles an hour. Now that I had it this week, I didn't do official range tests, but I did a lot of highway driving, and I'm seeing that the average consumption is about the same as what it was when I did my highway range test. So I'm comfortable. This is a 330 to 350 mile range EV on highway driving in good weather conditions. When it's cold, it's not going to go quite as far. So this one's pretty clear. The Hummer EV is the winner when it comes to driving range. Next up, let's talk payload and towing capability, the Achilles heel of electric trucks. We'll start off with the Lightning. The Lightning has a payload of up to 2,235 pounds and a towing maximum of 10,000 pounds, but it does depend on what trim and what battery you have. The Rivian can tow up to 11,000 pounds, a little more than the Lightning, but its payload is only 1,760 pounds, nearly 500 pounds less. The Hummer comes in last here. It only has a towing capability of 7,500 pounds and a payload maximum of 1,300 pounds. It's interesting because the Hummer EV is by far the heaviest and most powerful vehicle of the lot, yet it has the least amount of towing and payload capability. I'm going to give the winner of this category to the Lightning because it has nearly 500 pounds more payload capability, has slightly less towing, but that 500-pound payload I think is going to be used more than the extra 1,000 pounds for towing. Now let's talk about my favorite subject, charging. So I've lived with these guys for a while and I'm pretty comfortable with how they charge both DC fast and level 2 at home. The Hummer EV is a bit of an enigma. I've done 5 different DC fast charge tests with it so far and I've gotten 5 different results. I think GM hasn't completely ironed out the software with it because I'm finding myself plugging in, it's pulling a lot of power and then it just derates down to almost nothing. Then it drops up, comes up to a little bit more power, holds it for a while, drops down, goes up. It's all over the place. The Lightning and the Rivian are very predictable. You know exactly what you're going to get when you plug in. You could look at the charging curves that I've put out on this channel, State of Charge, and that's what you're going to get. The Hummer EV is still all over the place, and I'm certain that GM still needs to refine the software on it. But let's talk about what we know so far. As far as at-home charging, on level 2, the Lightning can accept up to 19.2 kilowatts of power. That's 80 amps. And it'll charge at a rate of close to 40 miles an hour of replenished range. Both the Rivian and the Hummer EV can only accept 11.5 kilowatts, which is 48 amps. It's significantly less than what the Lightning can accept. Now, the Rivian will add somewhere between 20 and 25 miles of range per hour compared to the Lightning's 35 to 40, so it's significantly less. However, the Hummer EV, because it's so big and inefficient, it'll only charge at a rate of about 16 miles of range per hour. So if you drain this battery down completely and you go home and plug in, you're not going to have a full battery overnight. Don't know why GM didn't include a 19.2 kilowatt onboard charger like Ford did for the Lightning. It has a 212 kilowatt hour battery pack. That's the usable capacity. The gross capacity is close to 240 kilowatt hour. So for that size of a battery, the Hummer EV should have an 80 amp onboard charger. Now the Lightning has a usable capacity of 131 kilowatt hour. The gross capacity is somewhere around 145, 146. The Rivian R1T has a usable capacity of about 128 kilowatt hour, and the gross capacity is somewhere around 140 kilowatt hour. So the Rivian and the Lightning's batteries are just about the same size, but the Hummer EV's battery is so much larger, it should have better level 2 charging capability. And when you go to DC fast charging now, the Hummer EV has the capability of charging much faster than these two vehicles, because GM says it can charge at rates of up to 350 kilowatt. I've personally seen rates of 367 kilowatt charging on the Hummer EV. The problem is, as I said, it'll hold it for only 3 or 4 minutes, and then it just derates down to nothing. Then it goes up to like 80 kilowatt, holds that for a while. So the overall charging that I've found, DC fast charging on the Hummer EV, is slower than the Lightning and the Rivian. The Lightning and the Rivian from 10 to 80% are almost identical, even though the Rivian can accept more than 200 kilowatts of power, and the Lightning maxes out at about 170 kilowatts of power. The thing is, the Lightning holds a higher charging rate longer. So the Rivian might be able to add more miles if you just plug in for like 10 or 15 minutes and you're at a low state of charge, you'll probably get more miles than the Rivian. But if you stay there a little bit longer, past 70% state of charge, the Lightning catches up. So what we have here is inconclusive. The Ford is definitely the best charging at home on level 2. But when you go to DC fast charge, I can't declare a winner, because I believe GM is going to improve the software for the charging on the Hummer EV. In that case, it's probably going to be the best charging out of these three. But until I get clean recordings of that, I can't declare it the winner. Right now, the Rivian and the Lightning are about tie, up to 80%. From 0 to 80%, they return about exactly the same miles per minute of charging. So they're kind of in a tie. This is the wild card over here. I think the Hummer EV is going to be the best charging EV once GM irons out these software issues. Next up, let's talk Frunks. So first, let's look at the R1T's frunk. It can hold 11 cubic feet of cargo space, but the one big negative that it has is you have to lift everything up over the front grille area to get it into the frunk, and if it's heavy items, that makes it difficult. Both the Lightning and the Hummer have much lower loading heights because the grills are incorporated into the hood, and when the hood lifts up, so does the grill, or I should call it the faux grill. Now the Hummer EV can hold a little bit more. It holds 11.3 cubic feet of cargo, just enough to fit the 4 infinity roof panels that are removable with the Hummer EV. Now the Lightning is the clear winner here. It holds 14.1 cubic feet of cargo space, and again it has that low front loading area so that it's easy to load heavy items into the front. Now let's talk about the roofs. All three of these electric pickup trucks have glass roofs that allow you to see out. They let light in. They make the cabs feel even more open and spacious than what they are, but they all do it in a completely different way. Let's first start off with the Rivian. The Rivian has a typical panoramic glass roof. It is tinted and filters out up to 99% of the UV light, but it doesn't have a shade that you can close if it's getting too hot in the cabin. The Lightning has that. It's a power-operated sunshade that will close and completely cover the glass roof. Now, the Lightning also has a panoramic glass roof, but it's in 2 sections. It's not one big open roof like the Rivian has. Now, the front seating area has their own panel. It's a separate panel, and that actually opens to allow air in. So with the Lightning, half of the sunroof will open. The rear section is fixed, but you also get a sunshade that will cover the whole sunroof if you would like it to. So to me, the Lightning solution is better than the Rivian solution. It gives you that full open glass roof, but you can also close it and even open to get some fresh air if you'd like. Now the Hummer EV takes this to the next level. They have what they call the infinity roof, which is 4 removable panels that you can then store in the frunk of the vehicle. And you could even remove the crossbar in the front seating area to have a completely wide open space. The Hummer EV wins when it comes to the roof. And finally, let's take a quick look at the advanced driver assist systems for these 3 electric trucks. All 3 vehicles have level 2 autonomous driving capability. And they all act pretty similarly. They all have lane centering, an adaptive cruise control system, and they both work really well. I've used all 3 of them extensively on the highway. I'm going to give the advantage to the Hummer though. The Hummer uses GM's Super Cruise, and the advantage it has over the other 2 systems is it does automatic lane changes by itself. You don't even have to ask it to change the lane. If it thinks that it's a better route or it can go faster up to the limit that you have set the speed to be at, it'll automatically change the lane, go around a slower moving vehicle. It's a hands-free system. It happens all hands-free, just like the Ford Blue Cruise. Ford Blue Cruise is also hands-free, but it can't change lanes on its own. With Ford's Blue Cruise, you'll initiate the lane change by putting on your blinker, manually go into the new lane, and then once you're centered in that lane, Blue Cruise will take over and you can take your hands off the steering wheel. The Rivian system is called Drivers Plus. It's not a hands-free system. You have to keep your hands on the steering wheel. It works very well, but that is a disadvantage. The other 2 systems, Blue Cruise and Super Cruise, are hands-free system, with the slight edge going to Super Cruise because it can make lane changes on its own. Well, that's it for our electric pickup truck comparison. Let's take a look at the results. Okay, so the Lightning seems to be the clear winner of this competition, winning in the categories of cost, ride and comfort, onboard power, payload and towing, frunk, and bed and tailgate. The Rivian picked up wins in off-road capability, power and handling, and audio system, while the Hummer won in driving range, has the best roof out there, and also the driver assist systems. Now I know that the Rivian R1T and the Hummer both ended up with 3 wins, but I'm going to give second place to the Rivian R1T because in more categories than not, it finished second behind the Lightning. Categories like cost, ride and comfort, onboard power, payload and towing, all very important categories. The Rivian was right behind the Lightning and the GMC Hummer came in last. So if I'm going to rate these 1, 2, 3, it's going to be Lightning 1, Rivian 2, and the GMC Hummer EV finishing last. Okay, so the Hummer EV didn't fare that well in head-to-head competition with the R1T and the Lightning. But quite honestly, I don't think Hummer enthusiasts really care about that. They want something that's big and bold and powerful and, you know, get some looks, because everywhere you go, the show stops. When you roll up in this thing, everyone looks. I don't get too many looks in the Lightning because it looks like a regular F-150, quite honestly. The grill's a little different, the tail lights are different, but other than that, it's a regular F-150. Rivian gets some looks, the kind of weird headlights in the front and the fact that it's a new brand. I get some people ask me questions about it, but nothing like the Hummer. Everywhere I went with the Hummer, people stopped, took video. I had police officers ask me questions about it. So, I mean, this is a showstopper and it's incredibly fun to drive. I'd love to have it on the weekends, but as a daily driver, quite honestly, I'd stick with these 2 guys here that I have. Well, I hope you found this video entertaining and informative. If it's your first time here at State of Charge, please don't forget, click that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you don't miss any upcoming content, and thanks for watching.